Welcome to another fun-filled hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports Real Live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brownhead. That's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, too, we have all the other 5 live shows throughout the week. So if you happen to miss them, you can go back and watch them and listen to them at your own leisure. So make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, please find us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, find Sports Zone Chicago. We're available on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You want to catch the audio version of Second City Sports, i.e. the podcast, you can do so by subscribing to War on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Make sure you type this in your search engine boxes on those podcast platforms. You ready? WARR on Anchor. Once again, at War on Anchor. And you can follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, at War Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun. We have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions to our extravaganza, we call it Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something stupid, I've given Lakeena the green light to give you fools the beer lane be a boot.
Bye-bye.
I love when she says that. But before we begin, we must remind you that Sports Zone Chicago is also now available on Roku TV. That's right, Sports Zone Chicago is now available on your Roku television. So celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. If you have a Roku TV, just tap on the sports folder and download Sports Zone Chicago that way. If you don't have a Roku TV, that's okay. We know you have a couple of streaming devices laying around, iPad, iTouch, that old cell phone, your personal PC, your Chromebook like I'm using right now. Just make sure you download that Roku TV app and then access Sports Zone Chicago that way. So once again, get with the program, celebrate with the squad. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about and break down here on today's show. Of course, we're going to talk about Bears and Vikings coming up on Sunday. Of course, the rest of the Week 5 slate. So great matchups in Week 6 of college football. And also, yes, we will talk about the it helps if we can see us. Yes, hello. But that'll help a little bit. But yeah, I guess we'll go into the whole Draymond and Jordan Poole, brouhaha. That's a whole different.
Keep your hands to yourself, as D would say from the old D and David show back in the day.
Yeah, well, we'll get into it.
We'll get
into all that in just a second. But first, Sid, you got the baseball playoffs going on right now as we speak. This is the wild card round. The Rays and Guardians are playing as we speak. There's no score they're in the bottom of the 5th inning. That game's on ESPN. But keep that on mute and just listen to us and watch us, please. We appreciate that. But all right, so where do you see? Well, I guess we'll start with that series first. That's going on right now. These are all best of 3 matchups. It's a new thing they're doing with MLB this year. You got the top teams have a bye. The Dodgers and the Astros both have byes, but other games are going on right now. They'll be going on through all weekend. These are best of 3, so best 2 out of 3, and of course starting with the Rays and the Guardians. Sid, where do you see this matchup?
It's going to come down to strong pitching and defense. As of right now, as the game 1 is going on, Shane McClanahan is pitching his butt off for Tampa Bay, and Shane Bieber is doing his job for the Cleveland Guardians. Right now, Tampa Bay has only 1 hit. Cleveland has 4, but it's going to come down to the basics. Who's going to get that clutch hit? And also, it's about defense as well. We've seen all season long, Lakeena, that Cleveland turned it around when they wanted the AL Central Division, that not only their offense turned around, but their defense turned around as well. Tampa Bay, as I've talked about on this show for the last few years, give manager Kevin Cash credit. That's a fundamentally sound team. That their offense is not built on power, is built on speed in stolen bases, and they can create runs whenever they have their runners on a base pass. So it's definitely going to come down to the bases. But for me, pitching and defense, and whoever lasts the longest is going to win this series. I have the Tampa Bay Guardians winning this series.
See, for me, like I said, it's going to be about pitching, but you got to score, and that's what's happening. There's no score right now, so that's that's sort of like a testament to what I've been saying about this particular series. Again, it's going to be one of those things where, okay, which of the starting pitching can kind of get it going, and who gets caught with their pants down, not literally, but just saying that they give them a lot of runs, get the offense can catch that pitching like in a bad way and such. So because with the playoffs, especially with this best of 3 wild card series, it could definitely sort of go either way here. So I know McClanahan is pitching his butt off right now. I know Bieber got out of a couple of jams there for the Guardians. So it's really going to see it's going to be interesting to see which one steps up here. So we'll see who finally breaks through. Now I'm going to pick the Rays just so I think they're a better team, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Guardians pull it out.
No, I wouldn't be surprised either. And of course, obviously, as a Sox fan, am I cheering for them? No, but am I rooting against them? No. So there goes that for just in case some of you folks are wondering where I stand as far as who I'm cheering for in these playoffs. But regardless of that, these are two evenly matched teams. Like you said, they're similar to one another. I think Cleveland does have a little bit more power in terms of names in that lineup, but we see every year Lakeena runs come in the preview, but it's always pitching and defense that wins games in the postseason.
It'll be interesting to see what happens there. That should be a fun series. Now, the second series that'll start about an hour from now, just under an hour from now, you got the Phillies and the Cardinals. The Phillies are back in the playoffs for their first time since 2011. So it's been a while for them, of course. The Cardinals, we know what they can do. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, for me, I think this particular series and on the National League side, these two teams can be very streaky. Now, we know Pujols, congrats to him. He's got over 700 home runs now. I know he's going to want him and Ray and all the other older guys on there wants to kind of have this one last dance, if you will. But I think for me, like, Schwarber, Kyle Schwarber, if they can get him to kind of get going and get on the board and such, that'll be kind of interesting. And, for me, I think that the pitching is going to be, Zach Wheeler and Jose Quintana. Remember that name, White Sox fans? He's now with the Cardinals. That's going to be game one of that series. That's going to start in about an hour from now. Of course, Aaron Nola and Miles Mikolas will be, game 2 tomorrow. Now, to me, I think that's going to be really going to be about the pitching. If the Phillies pitching if really get a good start against that Cardinals and that lineup, I think the Phillies can definitely get a shot. I think the Cardinals will win it 2 out of 3, but I still think, though, if the Phillies can somehow kind of get things going, if Schwarber and Harper, if they can kind of get, kind of take it off their, take this team on their backs to kind of get it going on the offensive side, that should definitely help their pitching.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Bryce Harper, Lakeena, because he's one of my main points about the Phillies if they're going to steal this series in St. Louis. Bryce Harper, remember, he missed half of the year due to various injuries. Right now, he's quote-unquote fresh compared to the rest of his teammates who've been battling all year. I want to see how Bryce Harper approaches this playoff series. This is his first playoff series in a few years, his first overall in the Phillies uniform. So I want to see how he approaches this playoff series, what his approach is going to be at the plate. Number 2, that Phillies bullpen. Remember, Lakeena, I was not in love with them last year, and that's the reason why they lost the division to the now defending champion Atlanta Braves. I'm going to see what that bullpen does for the Phillies. It's been one of their strong points all year, and we'll see what happens against a better team in the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, on the flip side for the Cardinals, you talk about Albert Pujols and being his last dance, and that's going to be a motivating factor. But I want to see what Nolan Arenado does. I want to see what Paul Goldschmidt does. And I want to see what their bullpen does as well. So I think it's going to come down to the bullpens for both teams.
Well, yeah, it really is. Like I said, I think it could be one of those things where, like I said, I think again, same thing. If someone could catch you at a bad point, you have a bad start, or if someone gets hot at the right time, and that's usually how the playoffs are, especially at this time of year. So this will be an interesting series. Now, I'm torn between this series, Sid, back to the AL wild card. Seattle and Toronto, they split their series, I believe. So their season series. So yeah, Jesus, this is good. This is gonna be a tough one for me.
Yeah, you're Mariners.
I know, and I like the Blue Jays too. So it's this is gonna be a tough series for me to have to pick. But for a picking standpoint, but oh Lord, well, a shout out to the Mariners' primary catcher, Elise Torrens. He was a winning pitcher for the Mariners a couple of nights ago. That's a cool story there behind that one. And Luis Castillo against Alex Manoah for game one. That's going to come up at 3:07 on ESPN. To me, I think it's really going to come down to like the hitting, and I think it's really good. Sort of like we know how deep the Blue Jays are. These are both teams that are coming back, from long droughts in the playoffs. So it's really going to depend on who can kind of control the nerves and such. We know how good the Blue Jays can be when it comes to hitting and such. The Mariners. It's sort of one of those things where they're kind of hot and cold at times. We all love Julio Rodriguez and such. So it's really going to come down, like I said, who can control the nerves, who can kind of get things going on the hitting side, and whose pitching can step up.
Also, too, Lakeena, Toronto, let's start with Toronto first. They're one of 4 MLB teams that have 5 players or more with 20 or more home runs for the season. And you bring up a great point as far as the offense. We talked about it all year. We talked about it last year too. Remember, both these teams were in the playoff race until the last weekend of the season last year. So if you really look deep into it, it should be no surprise that both teams are actually in the playoffs this year. But that's besides the point. This year, with Toronto, they can blast it out with the rest of them, with Vlad Guerrero Jr., Dante Bichette's son, Bo Bichette. You have Cavan Biggio, if he plays as well. He can knock it out of the yard. But the starting pitcher for Toronto is what I'm going to be focusing on, because we talked about it, Lakeena, besides Jose Barrios. Who else is going to step up in that starting rotation? I don't know if he's going to start this series, but Alex Manoah, he's been very, very good for them this year. And we'll see what happens with their starting rotation. On the flip side for Seattle, they have the perfect formula. Like you said, Julio Rodriguez is the big bat, their leadoff guy, but they have the perfect starting rotation. They have the bullpen to carry you through a playoff series. For me, if you're Toronto, you got to keep Julio Rodriguez off base. And then for Toronto, you got to score some runs, especially early, because you definitely do not want to get in that Seattle bullpen late.
No, you can't. And the bullpen for the Mariners actually were one of the best at baseball for a reason. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think that because they're pitching, I'm taking the Mariners 2 out of 3. I mean, but I can see the Blue Jays win it if they can get their offense going. So I know Alex Manoah will start game one against Castillo. So that's going to be sort of like the thing here. If he can get that win for them today, that could help the Blue Jays a little bit, for game 2 tomorrow. But at the same time, though, if the Mariners get it going with their hitting, who knows? This could be interesting. And plus, remember that whole thing with the vaccine issues and stuff like that's gone now. So Seattle's gonna have their full roster of guys. So that's definitely gonna be an equalizer for them. So we'll see what happens. This should be a fun series. I hope it goes.
Yeah, I got Toronto in 3. I got Toronto 3. I think that home field up there in the formerly known as Sky Dome, I'm not calling it that corporate name, but I think that home field advantage of Sky Dome is going to help the Blue Jays. But this is going the full 3-game series.
I hope so. I mean, it should be a fun one here. Last one in the wild card, you got San Diego and the Mets. Of course, the Mets, they got snuck by the Braves, and then unfortunately now they're going to be playing in the wild card round. So
that's what you get for being swept by the Cubs early in September.
Yeah, that naughty,
and losing to the Braves.
naughty. So it's going to be interesting there. So what do you think about this series? This should be an interesting one because, of course, San Diego has to travel cross country. We'll see what the mindset is. It'll be Yu Darvish versus Max Scherzer tonight. Where do you see this series?
It's going to come down to starting pitching for the New York Mets. Shout out to our guy, Money Earning Mount Vernon Taylor. It's the Rogers Center. Yeah, we know.
we know, Vernon. It's Sky Dome, Vernon.
But going back to the Mets, it's going to come down to that starting pitching. If both Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer stay healthy, the Mets can go a long way. For San Diego, they do have some good starting pitching with Yu Darvish and Blake Snell, but their problem, especially during the second half of the year, has been at offense. And travel is going to be an issue as well, Lakeena, from them traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast, and they had to stay there for at least 2 days, perhaps the whole 3 of the series goes to a full 3-game distance. That's going to play up a part as well. You have a better manager in Bob Melvin who could help navigate them through this, but I just see the Mets coming out on top. I think this is going to go the full distance. I want to see Pete Alonso step up. I want to see Francisco Lindor step up. I want to see Brandon Nimmo step up as well. So all those big time players that were getting it done throughout the year with their bats. This is why you play those games in the regular season to get to this point right now. So I expect the Mets to have enough offense to beat San Diego.
Yeah, I think that's going to be sort of like the thing for me. Like I said, travel could be an issue because of the fact that, like I said, they had to travel cross country. They're going to be probably going to be there for 2, maybe 3 days. So again, I mean, I think the pitching, I think the Mets have better pitching than the Padres. So I think that's definitely going to help them in this series at Citi Field. I know that place is going to be rocking. Yeah, we'll see where the Mets mindset is because they've been leading the NL East like through like for almost 6 months, like 3 weeks, like 2.5, 3 weeks. Of course, get swept by the Cubs and you get swept by the Braves, and now you're playing in the wild card round where you could be chilling for the next few days. So then but like I said, it's gonna be depending on that. I know Bob Melvin, of course, we all know he's got a lot of experience doing this, so that could help him a little bit. I'm talking about the Padres, but I got the Mets in 2, but again, it wouldn't surprise me if it goes 3 somehow. I know. I just think it's going to go 3. I just don't know why I feel that way, but I do.
Yeah, like I said, I have the Mets in 3 as well. I think San Diego can squeak out a game, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Mets should do what they're supposed to do and sweep them 2-0.
All right, and that is your wild card preview in the MLB. You can check out the games on ESPN, ABC, and ESPN2.
Yes, and a scoring update before we break for the bottom of the hour. Bottom of the 6th in Progressive Field, formerly known as Jacobs Field in Cleveland. The Cleveland Guardians are trailing 1-0 to Tampa Bay. Siri hit a opposite field home run for the Tampa Bay Rays. So once again, 1-0 Tampa, bottom 6 in Cleveland in Game 1 of that best of 3 wild card series.
Oh yeah, I just saw that. That went pretty far. Jose Cirio, he hit that ball pretty far. We know he can go deep, when it's warranted. So that should be an interesting series. And oh look, there's and more depressed. The White Sox themselves this season. Look, we'll get to all that with our girl Chrissy Manika from KXRB joining. So I'm sure he's gonna have a lot to say about that.
Yes, she does. Lakeena, we have to we had to cool off first, but we just getting started. So I'm sensing a little rising tension, but it's a good tension. You know why? Because college football is here. Week 6, Lakeena, week 6 of your college pigskin. I was looking at the schedule this morning. We have some interesting games, and a couple of our local teams better turn it around, or it's going to get real ugly real fast. We'll have that and a whole lot more as you're listening to the hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. We're live in 11 color. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it! hear the calling, few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to a hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena McGee on the IG.
And don't forget, you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now on Roku TV. And we have less than 90 minutes left of this extravaganza. We call it Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions, comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. Lakeena, week 6 of college football is here. Let's preview some of the big games. There's a couple of big games starting tonight. Tonight at 6 o'clock Chicago time on FS1, we'll have 2-3 Nebraska. They're coming off an upset win against Indiana at home last Saturday night. They'll travel to New Jersey to take on Rutgers. Rutgers are 3-2, but 0-2 in the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see how both these teams, they're kind of like, Rutgers is 0-2 in the Big Ten right now. So I think that'll, they're starting to kind of come back to earth a little bit after starting 3-0. So it's going to be interesting to see which Nebraska team we get to. We see. Will we see that team against Indiana where they were kind of like, sort of in your face and sort of like, punch in the mouth? They got Indiana right away, and they didn't let them. They didn't let them up. But we're gonna get that team where they were just listless and they slept walk.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be interesting to see what this game is. It should be a good on FS1 at 6 tonight.
At 6:30 p.m. on ESPN2, one of the surprise teams in college football this year that no one's talking about. No, this is not basketball season, but the Memphis Tigers check in at 4-1. They'll host the Houston Cougars. They're 2-3, both of them out of the American Conference. Watch out for Memphis quarterback Seth Hennigan. He has 9 touchdown passes on the year, over 1,200 yards passing.
Memphis has a nice little balanced offensive attack. They're 4-1 right now. No one really thought that they would. They're kind of like the reverse. Everyone thought that maybe Houston would be like 4-0 or 5-0 or whatever, 4-1. But they've been struggling lately, so they lost their last game. And Memphis actually looked really good. I mean, granted, it hasn't been like the best competition. I think their one loss was against Mississippi State. They've won 4 in a row. But it should be interesting to see who's really for real. And Houston needs this game because they're kind of starting to sort of fall off the track a little bit, and Dana Holgorsen, a lot of people are asking for his job, so that should be an interesting one air on ESPN2 tonight.
Not of importance unless you're Jonathan Hood or Lakeena. 9:30 p.m. on FS1. 0-4 Colorado State. They'll travel to Nevada to take on the Wolfpack. Nevada is 2-3. Colorado State is 0-4. And then, of course, at the same time on CBS Sports Network tonight, you have 4-1 UNLV. The Running Rebels will take on the San Jose State. They're 3-1, both of them out of the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, I mean, I might peek them a little bit. I probably won't sit to watch either one of these games. But let's go to the big ones here tomorrow. The big news Saturday game. We got Michigan and Indiana. Not saying Michigan should be on upset alert, but Indiana's been struggling with injuries and such. So I know that Coach Harbaugh is going to make sure his guys are ready and they're focused. They've been doing very well so far, and I would say, look, give the ball to Blake Corum. That's all I'm going to say, and let him, because they're not very good against the run. I'm talking about Indiana, so let him go to town. Let him, get some more career numbers.
Yeah, Indiana, as I mentioned, they're coming off a big loss at Nebraska last Saturday night. They're 3-2 on the season, 1-1 in the Big Ten. Look out for that quarterback, Connor Blazek. He has 8 touchdown passes on the season. He needs to have a big game if Indiana has any chance to pull off the upset. And also to their star wide receiver, Mr. Cam camper. He has only 1 touchdown reception throughout so far in this season, but he needs to have a big game as well. For Indiana, stay disciplined, no major penalties, and they got to control the clock by running the football. And let's see if they can create some turnovers as well.
Well, they've been having trouble with that this year, so we'll see if they can do that. The big
Michigan's favored by 22.5.
I might take the slightly under, but yeah, like I said, Indiana is not very good, like I said, with the injuries and such. So, like I said, Michigan, I'm sure just keep your eyes on the prize. Number 8, Tennessee, and number 25, LSU. This should be a fun one down there in Death Valley. Yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting thing here because Tennessee is 4-0, and Hendon Hooker, you guys know about their quarterback for Tennessee. He can throw it, he can run it, and look, we all know this is going to be kind of an interesting matchup here between these two rivals. Jalen Daniels, of course, remember him from Arizona State, so people remember that name down there in Tempe, and this is going to be very interesting. It's going to be interesting what we know both teams can run it, they can throw it, but it's really going to be the defense, and I think Tennessee's defense. They've allowed 19 points. LSU, they've only allowed 14 points. Talk about their defense. So this is going to be one of those things where which one bites.
Yeah, Tennessee is a surprising 2.5-point favorite on the road at Tiger Stadium. I was going to bring up that point. LSU, we saw what they did last week at Auburn. They dominated Auburn, especially in that second half. Like I said, it was defense that closed that game out. You mentioned Jaden Daniels, they start running back. I'm talking about for LSU. He's going to have a big game and not turn the ball over. He needs to have at least over 150 yards, in my opinion, to even give LSU a chance. For Tennessee, let's see if Hooker, like you say, can he have a big game? This is really their first big test on the road. And I want to see if LSU can force Mr. Hooker to throw him a couple of interceptions. If they can, they should be able to win this ball game. Pressures on both teams. Who has more pressure? I'm gonna surprise you guys. Is mostly Tennessee.
Well, yeah, I think because no one really thought that Tennessee would be in the top 10 right now. I think people thought that, okay, they would probably be serviceable. They'd probably be right there, maybe 3-2 or something like that. I don't think anybody thought they'd be undefeated. So the fact that they're undefeated now, they're sort of the favorite, which is a little bit surprising. They're at Death Valley. That LSU defense is actually pretty good. So we'll see what happens. Should be a fun one down there. And then ESPN got a great one there. TCU in Kansas. No, it's not basketball season, folks. TCU coming off that big dominating win against Oklahoma. They faced Kansas, an undefeated Kansas team, mind you. Like I said, it's not basketball season yet, folks. Game days there. They're in Lawrence for the first time for the football season. I got to keep reiterating that. Kansas, they're 5-0. Both these teams are undefeated. TCU is 4-0. Kansas is 5-0. This will be on FS1 at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Where do you see this game? This is going to be a very interesting game. I feel like, remember, like I said, game days there too. So going to be a lot of eyes here down there in Lawrence.
Yeah, who's going to put up the most points, Lakeena, and who's able to control the clock? I think that's what's going to come down to for TCU. They've been there before, but I think this is a bigger spotlight for Kansas. For Kansas, you had to play disciplined football. I think you had to play ball control, clock football. If Kansas can do that, they'll come out with the win. But TCU, they can put up a lot of the points, as we well know. So it's going to be a contrast of style. So that's what's going to come down to. I have TCU in this game. TCU is favored by 6.5.
6.5. That might be a little bit high. I know Sonny Dykes. This is his first rodeo building programs. He did it at Louisiana Tech. He did it at he did it at California. Then SMU gotten back into sort of relevancy, and now in the TCU. So this is his first rodeo. But it's going to be very interesting to see how the Kansas players respond. Jalen Daniels is probably one of the top passers in the country. It's going to be very interesting, though, how the spotlight is. They got game day there, like again for football, and it's going to be this is a new David Booth Stadium. I know that they're sold out for like the second straight week. So this is going to be very interesting. So this should be a fun one over there in Lawrence. Again, this will be at 11 o'clock on FS1. Arkansas coming off that tough loss to Alabama. They play Mississippi State. That's a SEC Network game also at 11 a.m.
Yeah, Mississippi State is the Bulldogs are favored by 9.
Okay, that should be a fun one. The Fighting Mike Bermans, as we call them, the Mississippi Tigers, hoping to bounce back from that disappointing loss to Georgia as they play Florida. That's at 11 a.m. on ESPNU.
Yep, and also at the same time on ABC, Florida, by the way, for that last game, they favored by 11 points at home at the Swamp. Also at the same time tomorrow on ABC, Texas and Oklahoma, one of the last times they get to face each other as members of the Big 12. They'll be moving to the SEC in a couple of years. Texas is favored by 8.5 on the road. This is a contrast between two teams going in opposite directions. Lakeena, what happened to Oklahoma? They started out 3-0. Now they lost their last two games. Texas, they've been kind of up and down, especially after they lost to Alabama a few weeks ago. I don't know if I could trust either of these two teams right now, Lakeena. I wouldn't be surprised if Texas wins this game, but it's still going to be a tough environment, even though it's playing in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. But I just don't trust Oklahoma right now. It's really choosing between the best of two evils, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Red River rivalry, probably one of the last times they'll be playing each other in this game. So it's going to be very interesting to see how both these teams respond. I mean, Texas, they had they won their last game, but of course they lost to Texas Tech a couple of weeks prior. And of course, Oklahoma's they've been sort of flat the last couple of weeks. So I don't know what to think, but yeah, it's always interesting when these two teams play in Dallas. So this should be a fun one nonetheless. I think OU's the favorite. I don't know how, but I guess. But
Texas is the favorite.
Oh, Texas is the favorite. Oh,
yeah, 8.5 point favorite.
Ooh, that might be okay. I guess
on the neutral site. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have no faith in the OU defense, but so we'll see how this goes there. Purdue and Maryland. That's 11 a.m. on BTN. Purdue hoping not to have a letdown, after beating Minnesota. So that should be a fun one. Louisville and Virginia. That's 11 a.m. on the SEC network. Georgia, hopefully they got that little stink, after almost losing to Mizzou. They face a pretty solid Auburn team. They've been kind of sort of the crossroads talking about Auburn. That's a CBS 2:30 game. The SEC Network game of the week. SEC game of the week, I should say, on CBS. So that should be a fun one.
Yeah, Georgia shouldn't have a problem with Auburn. It's at home at Sanford Stadium. They are favored by 29.5 points. At the same time on FS1, 3-2, Texas Tech, the Red Raiders will travel to Boone Pickens Stadium to face the number 7 ranked team in the country, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. The Cowboys are 4-0 on the season, 1-0 in the Big Ten. I expect some high scoring to be displayed on that field.
Yeah, and I trust OK State defense a little bit better than I do Texas Tech's defense. So I think they might be able to tame that offense of a Tech. So that should be a fun one. Spencer Sanders, has 11 touchdowns in the season. Their running back, Dominic Richardson, has been run the ball very well as well. He's one of the top rushers in the country, and FBS, I should say, at the very least. So, but like I said, it's really their defense. So I think this could be kind of like a defense if they can both of them will give up plays. This could be a basketball score before it's all said and done.
Yep.
That's how it usually is with the Big 12. So, but
yeah, Oklahoma State is favored by 9.5 points. At 2:30 p.m. on Fox tomorrow, we have number 11 Utah traveling to Los Angeles to Pasadena in the Rose Bowl. They'll face number 18, the UCLA Bruins. Utah's 4-1, 2-0 in the Pac-12. UCLA checks in with a 5-0 record, 2-0, also 2-0 in the Pac-12. How many people they only get in the Rose Bowl tomorrow, Lakeena? It's supposed to be a sunny 75 degrees.
But yeah, and they're 5-0. UCLA is. I don't think anybody really saw that coming, but Cameron Rising, like I said, probably a tough quarterbacks, I should say. But then again, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is pretty good too. So it should be nice little quarterback styles there. And one of their top running backs, like I said, one of the top running backs in the country, that Zach Charbonnet, who probably a lot of people will, those of you out here on the East Coast, on this side of the coast, probably don't know who he is. But yeah, like I said, he's one of the top running backs in FBS. So that could be sort of like the key here. We know Utah's defense is actually pretty good, but so is UCLA. So it should be an interesting one here at the Rose Bowl. So it should be a fun one on Fox.
Yeah, Utah's favored by 3.5.
3.5. Okay, I might take the under on that one. This could come down to a field goal, so we'll see what happens there. Wisconsin and Northwestern both hoping to bounce back from some tough losses, and like I said, Wisconsin's looking for a new head coach. 2:30 on the Big Ten Network. That should be an interesting one there over in Evanston.
Yeah, Wisconsin's favored by 10.5. I think they'll be motivated by their head coach being let go. No one's giving them the chance. Northwestern historically has done well against Wisconsin at home. Check out that game from a couple years ago when Northwestern upset Wisconsin on their way to the Big Big Ten title game. I know those memories are long gone now,
Mhm.
but Northwestern, they've been in the games because of their defense all year, Lakeena. But what we've been talking about, playing disciplined football, turnovers has killed this team this year. They're 1-1 in the Big Ten. Wisconsin's 0-2 in the Big Ten. But for Northwestern, it's going to come down to running the football and not turn the football over. And can the Wildcats please get some quarterback play out of Ryan Helinski?
Mm. Should be interesting one there. Both teams hoping to
Mhm.
redeem themselves. Toledo and Northern Illinois. That's going to be on ESPN Plus at 2:30. Ohio State and Michigan State. That's going to be at 3:00 on ABC. This will be the first true road test thus far for Ohio State. Michigan State. They've had some injuries. They haven't looked good so far this year. So I'm not saying. Look, I mean, we know that Michigan State can pull off the upset at Spartan Stadium. They've done it before against Ohio State. CJ Stroud has 18 touchdown passes so far. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what's the spread there, Sid. But
Ohio State is favored by 27 points, even in the over/under total is 65.
okay, Meion Williams might get that by himself. He has almost 500 rushing yards. Like I say, he's right there in that top tier. So, yeah, this could be a long day for Spartans fans tomorrow. I'm just
Yeah.
warning you guys right now.
Also, at 3:00 on the SEC Network, we have number 9 Ole Miss at 5-0. They'll travel to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt checks in at 3-2 on the season, 0-1 in SEC play.
Yeah, I'm sure first ranked stadium in Nashville will probably be rocking, but I don't think Lane Kiffin will have his guys ready for this game. I think they want to show people that they are for real, as they still got a couple of tests coming up, so hopefully they will look past Vandy. Number 21 Washington against Arizona State. Washington hoping to bounce back from last week's loss. That's at 4. They're 4-1. They're 1-1. That's going to be on the Pac-12 network at 3:00.
Yep, and also at the same time on ESPN3 at 3:00, Duke, the Blue Devils. Yes, it's not basketball season. They check in at 4-1. They'll travel to Bobby Dodd Stadium down there in hot Atlanta to take on the Georgia Tech, the Yellow Jackets. They're 2-3 on the year, 1-1 ACC play. And at the same time on ESPN2, the North Carolina Tar Heels 4-1. They'll travel to Hard Rock Stadium to face the Miami Hurricanes. Miami is 2-2 on the year. This is their first game in ACC play. Miami's favored by 3.5.
Miami's had a day off to sort of try to get over the loss to Middle Tennessee, so hopefully they'll be back when they come back. They'll be making some adjustment there. So what happens now going into the nightcap, Western Kentucky against UTSA. That's going to be that's on ESPN Plus. Beep beep, the Road Runners against the Hilltoppers. Both 1-0, I should say, in a conference play. If my thing could come up here. Let's see. Okay, Air Force and Utah State. That should be a fun one on FS1. Getting a little love from the Mountain West. 4-1 for Air Force, 1-1, and 1-4 for the Aggies of Utah State. But they could give their team some fits. So we'll see how this game goes with the Falcons against the Aggies.
At 6:30 p.m. tomorrow on ABC, their primetime game of the week, number 5 Clemson, the Tigers will travel to Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts to face the Boston College Eagles. Boston College is 1-2 in the ACC, and they are 2-3 overall. And Clemson is favored by 20.5.
Yeah, I mean, I know that if this was last year, I think they probably would have a shot. Boston College, but
Right.
still they've got the basic. Yeah, they've had some injuries, some big injuries too. I think in their old line. I'm talking about the Eagles, and it looks like they're starting to kind of get their groove going. I'm talking about Clemson, so this could help them a little bit. I'm hoping to avoid that letdown. I guess with that big win against NC State last week. So this should be interesting one over at Chestnut Hill. But yeah, I don't think Clemson shouldn't have any issues.
Yeah. At 6:30 p.m. tomorrow on Fox, their primetime game of the night, the number 6 team in the country, I should say, the USC Trojans, Lincoln Rallying Crew. They are 5-0, 3-0 in the Pac-12. They'll host 4-1 Washington State Cougars.
Wazoo, yeah, this should be an interesting one. Like I said, Wazoo's got a pretty solid defense, so this should be an interesting one there. And SC's got a pretty good defense as well. So like I said, it could be a
Mm-hmm.
lot of scoring. If Caleb Williams can kind of avoid the mistakes. I know that Travis Dye is sort of one of those guys that can run the ball, but they've got some. Look, Wazoo's got some pretty good talent. We see that. We always saw. You look at that game against Wisconsin a couple of weeks ago. Cam
Yeah.
Ward could throw the ball, pretty well himself, and this should be a fun one. I'm not saying USC will be upset, but I think Wazoo will definitely keep them on their toes.
USC is favored by 13 points. At 6:30 p.m. on the SEC network, we have South Carolina. The Gamecocks checking in at 3, so they'll travel to Kroger Field to take on number 13, the Kentucky Wildcats. Kentucky is 4-1 overall, 1-1 in SEC. Kentucky is favored by 6.
Hoping to avoid that, get that taste against the loss against Ole Miss out of their mouths. This should be a fun one down there in Lexington. I mean, we know Shane Bieber. We know that he can make great videos with his team, but let's see if they can kind of try to get things going here for their team. They've had some tough losses this year, so should be an interesting one down there in Lexington.
Yes, at 6:30 p.m. on ESPNU, number 20 Kansas State will travel to Jack Trice Stadium down in Iowa to face the Iowa State Cyclones. Iowa State is 3-2 on the year, 0-2 in Big 12. Kansas State is 2-0 in the Big 12, 4-1 overall. Kansas State is favored by 1.5.
4.5. Okay, that's interesting because, like I said,
A point
Iowa
and a half.
State could. Okay, yeah, Iowa State. They could run the defense. This will be probably the best defense they face this year. I'm talking about K-State, so that'll be, like I said, this matchup will be interesting because like I said, I think that defense for the Cyclones. I mean, they can kind of give people fits. So they've only given up over 14 points. So Adrian Martinez for K-State. That's they'll keep him on his toes too. So this should be a fun one over there in Ames. But yeah, this should be an interesting matchup. K-State should be on upset alert now. BYU and Notre Dame. This will be the primetime game on NBC, and also too will be streaming on the Peacock app. So this should be a fun one. Of course, Notre Dame, they had it the week off to kind of prep for this game. Sort of, BYU is kind of one of those teams where they're sort of like, if you don't stay up late to watch, the West Coast games, you don't know too much about them. So this would be an interesting game, but we'll see how Marcus Freeman has his guys prepared.
Yeah, Notre Dame is favored by 3.5 points. The over on the total is 51. And this game will be on a quote unquote neutral site, even though it's in BYU territory. It's an Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, the home of the Raiders. So I know like you said, Notre Dame is starting to pick it up here a little bit. I think it's going to be a close one, but I think Notre Dame is just going to find a way just to squeak out a victory. But it's going to be tough throughout.
Yeah, I feel like BYU is sort of one of those teams that can definitely kind of like be right there and sort of in that sort of like in that realm there. But like I said, I mean there are I again like I said, I'm not a big fan of the program. You guys know this has been well documented. But but look, they've gotten better lately. Of course, they got some lucky breaks in some of those wins. But but like I said, BYU is sort of like one of those teams where the program there. It's going to be interesting because I know I'm sure it's going to be split like at least close to 50-50. Like you said, they're in BYU territory, but this could be an interesting game, and I feel like this could be one of those games where we're going to see probably like can BYU kind of hang in there. Of course, if you guys have not seen their QB Jaron Hall, I should say, he's kind of like one of those guys where some people already say that he's passed for over 1,400 yards and 12 touchdowns, and I think he's got a couple of rushing touchdowns as well. So we'll see how the Notre Dame's defense can try to contain him.
Yep, at 6:30 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. No, these teams are not ranked, but the Iowa Hawkeyes, they had a big loss last week at home against Michigan. They're 3-2 on the year. They'll travel to Memorial Stadium in Champaign to face the Fighting Brett Bielema's in the Illinois Fighting Illini. They check in at 4-1 overall. They're 1-1 in the Big Ten. This is going to be a big game for both teams. I think the pressure is going to be on Illinois because this is a spot that not many of us expected them to be in this year. Tommy DeVito, the quarterback for the Fighting Illini, he's going to have another big game. He has 9 touchdown passes so far this year, but they're going to pull the upset over Iowa. Chase Brown's got to run the ball hard for the Fighting Illini. The Illini are 3.5-point favorites, but it's not going to be easy. It's definitely not going to be a slam dunk.
Yeah, Iowa is sort of like I think they're going to be kicking themselves after that they felt like they had some chances to win against Michigan. And also too like Illinois, like you said, I mean they beat Wisconsin in Wisconsin for the first time in like almost 20 years. So
Mhm.
long even before Brett Bielema got there, that's how long it's been since Illinois beat Wisconsin at Camp Randall. So
Yeah.
Illinois, we'll see how their mindset is. We'll see how Iowa's. It's going to be about mindset at this point. So this should be a fun one down there in the Big Ten Network. So should be a good one over there down there in Champaign. Texas A&M and Alabama. That's at 7 o'clock on CBS. Their prime time game over in Tuscaloosa. Of course,
Petty between the two head coaches this offseason.
well, yeah, it's gonna be interesting because you remember last year, the Aggies upset Alabama. So, and I know that A&O is gonna be kicking themselves too after losing to Mississippi State. So this is good. People are not gonna be in a very good mood here. Bryce Young's a game time decision with that shoulder injury. So this should be an interesting one here. I know Alabama's favored, so we're just to see how A&M responds. And I think Max Johnson's not going to play either, so that could be the definitely equalizer for them.
Yeah, that's going to be tough because I was going to mention Texas A&M hasn't done much since they beat Miami at home a few weeks ago. You mentioned Alabama with their injuries. I know they're ranked number 1 overall at 5-0, but I think Alabama will have enough to beat Texas A&M. But Texas A&M, they got to be aggressive early. If they can do that, they can definitely be in this ball game. The over/under total for this one is 51, and Alabama's favored by 24.
Ooh, okay, yeah, that might be a bit much, but yeah, well, like I said, because if you see A&M's offense, I can kind of see why they're favored by 24. I'm talking about Alabama, but number 12, Oregon against Arizona on the Pac-12 network at 8 o'clock. They shouldn't really have any trouble there. Fresno State and Boise State, 8:45 on FS1. Hawaii and San Diego State, CBS Sports Network at 9:30, and the late match. So this should be a defensive struggle here. You got Oregon State and Stanford, the nightcap.
All right, so there's your preview of Week 6 in the world of college football. Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports #Football Friday edition continues. We'll preview the Vikings and the Bears. We'll get you set for kickoff for Sunday's contest from the great state of Minnesota. Our girl Christine, the Queen Manika, will check in from KXRB in Sioux Falls to give us her thoughts on the White Sox and Cubs in the Bulls preseason, and we'll give you our Week 5 picks from the National Football League. All that and more straight ahead. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Love that music coming out of the break there. Welcome back to hour number 2 of the hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
Got into the beat there for a second. You can go follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter, and Akina's going to be on the IG.
Next thing you know, Lakeena will be busting out the move, popping and locking. Popping you lock.
Hey. I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that popping and locking, but yeah.
You can also, we have less than an hour left of this fabulous program we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can always go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. And don't forget, Sports Zone Chicago, you can also access now on Roku TV. Lakeena, before we get started with our Bears and Vikings preview, we'd like to give you an update. Top of the 8th inning in Progressive Field in Cleveland, formerly known as Jacobs Field, in Game 1 of that wild card series between the Rays and the Guardians. The Guardians lead the Rays by the score of 2-1. Jose Ramirez came back with a 2-run home run there in the bottom of the 6th inning to give Cleveland and their hometown fans the lead. Let's see if they can hold it. And getting ready to get started in a couple minutes. Game 1 of the National League Wild Card Series between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Philadelphia Phillies. That's going to get underway from St. Louis in a couple of minutes. Lakeena, let's get it started with hour number 2 with our Bears and Vikings preview. Of course, the Bears lost to the New York Football Giants last week, 20-12 on the road, while the Minnesota Vikings took care of business by beating the New Orleans Saints 28-25 in London last week. Checking in with the rankings coming into this week's matchup. On offense, the Bears are ranked second from last in the National Football League, which is no surprise, while the Vikings are ranked number 19. In total defense, the Bears are ranked 6th, while the Vikings, as we told you this year, their defense will be in transition. They're ranked number 23. In passing, the Bears are ranked dead last, while Kirk Cousins and crew are ranked number 14. In the rushing department, the Bears are ranked 3rd in the league, and the Vikings are ranked a surprising 23rd overall. Lakeena, in your mind, what are your keys for the Bears to pull off an upset this Sunday in Minneapolis?
Well, I mean, apparently, I guess Eddie Jackson. I think I heard this from Coney, who has history with both these teams. Of course, Eddie Jackson has at least one interception against Kirk Cousins. Since his whole time, since Cousins has been in Minnesota. So I guess that's probably a good thing. I guess if you're Mr. Jackson, but it's going to be very interesting though for me, and I feel like it's going to be like running the ball. This is a rare early season matchup between these two teams, especially in Indianapolis. So for me, it's going to be very interesting because both are, like you said, I mean, the pass, the defense for the Minnesota is not very good against the pass, but against the run, the Bears are near dead last. So I know Dalvin Cook's been struggling with that shoulder injury a little bit, but I think for me, I think it's going to be very interesting. And I feel like if you're Kevin O'Connor and the rest of the Viking staff, look, I'm sure Cook will be able to play. I would say, give him the ball and don't let up, because that's going to be the key here. Take advantage of that run defense, that lack of run defense, just say, with the Bears. Now, As far as the Bears with their passing, their passing attack, you got to trust Justin Fields. It seems like Getsy. I know you try to clean up a little bit, with some of the press conferences this week, but it doesn't sound like they trust him. So I think for me, if you're going to force Fields to try to have a breakout game and kind of run the ball, but I think that's sort of like the thing that you got to try and do here. Now, as far as Minnesota, like you said, Minnesota, like I said, yes, their defense hasn't, been the best, like you said, but, you still got Harrison Smith, who's not going to be in a very good mood after being kicked in the groin that last few minutes of that game in London against the Saints. So I don't think he's going to be in a very good mood. Zadarius Smith, I know he loves playing the Bears, but, he's a little banged up too. He's questionable. So yeah, Jordan Hicks is another one that can go against the run too. Danielle Hunter is still around. So like you said, I think for me, this is sort of one of those games. I know I've heard a lot of some Bears players that say, well, we'll see how the Vikings are because they didn't get the week off. So hence this game here is happening this Sunday. But I think we'll do our picks in a little bit. But I feel like for me, I just don't trust this Bears offense. The defense is probably going to have to step up. Eddie Jackson's going to have to do his usual, whatever, try to pick off Kirk Cousins or force a fumble or whatever. We didn't hear Wilquan Smith's name too much last week, so putting the pressure on Cousins is probably going to be key there too. But I just don't see it happen. I know people want to do the time zone thing and such, but they've had a few days off to kind of like get going and get refreshed and stuff. So I know that shouldn't be an issue there. But I don't know. I feel like I don't want to say this is going to be a blowout, but I don't know. I don't know about you. What do you think, Sid?
I think with the Minnesota Vikings getting acclimated into the game, that will have an effect because they opted not to take the week off. So I think they'll have some sort of effect. But the opponent that they're playing, the Bears, they should get over it just fine. On the flip side for the Bears, Lakeena, their offense, as we said on our show on Monday, when Justin Fields, when they had those design rollouts against the Giants, he actually did well. And that's how Darnell Mooney got off. He had 4 catches for 94 yards. Cole Kmet, I expect them to have another big game. If they have those design bootlegs, that's when Justin Fields is at his best. Yes, he has to learn how to pass and read defenses when he's in the pocket, especially in shotgun formation. They should limit those, by the way, until he gets better at that. But with that being said, when they have Justin Fields in those design rollouts, and he's very good at it. I hope that they can keep that up. But that's going to be effective if they can continue to run the ball with Khalil Herbert and Ebner, whoever else is the backup running back, because David Montgomery, I don't believe, is not going to play. And so we know that the Bears will get off the bus running the football, but if they can have the running game with some consistency, those play action passes, those design rollouts will be more effective. Now, on the flip side for the defense, 2 sacks in 2 games. That's inexcusable. And they sacked Daniel Jones once last week. They had a sack against Davis Mills in the Texans game the week before. That's just not going to cut it. We all know that Kirk Cousins is not the most mobile quarterback in the world, so the Bears defense will get a break there. But like you said, Lakeena, I don't know if Jalen Johnson is going to play, but whoever is guarding Justin Jefferson, Mr. Giddy, it's going to be a long day for him. And we all know if you could put pressure on Kirk Cousins, you can force a couple of turnovers. And that's what we expect from this Bears defense. But if they have just 1 sack again, it's going to be a long day for him once again.
Yeah, it's going to be, like I said, well, I mean, like I said, Justin Jefferson, whoever, whether if it's Kyler Gordon, Galletti, some big test for you having to guard one of the best wide receivers in the game. But like I said, I mean, it's going to be one of those things where, like I said, I mean, we'll see how their bodies respond. I'm talking about the Vikings with them, not having that, not taking that week off after that London trip. It will affect them a little bit, but I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's going to affect them like too much because I feel like this is a divisional game. They want to get that edge in the division, especially with Green Bay struggling still. Detroit still being Detroit, although they're a little bit better Detroit team, but they're still Detroit. The way some of the games they've been going on. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But I feel like this is going to be one of those sort of games, divisional games, where it's always interesting when these 2 teams play. But like I said, I think the Vikings will be ready. I don't think there'll be no doubt about that.
Yeah, they'll be ready too because they're at home. For the Bears, we all know that all teams do this. The first 15 players are scripted, and usually the Bears do well. They've done well the last couple of weeks putting points on the board, but I want to see how they respond when they on their second offensive drive, no matter what the score is, because that's going to tell the story on how this game is going to go and if Justin Fields can improve or not.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Sydney Brown, previewing Bears and Vikings. And Sid, our girl is with us here already. So do you want to bring her on?
Yes, she's our NFL Pick'ems guru, and she has other thoughts on the other sports topics in entertainment and more. Let's please welcome in our girl from KXRB, our hometown girl from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's the one, the only Miss Christine, the Queen, Manika. What up, Christine?
Hello. Is it cold in Chicago by you guys?
Yeah, a glorious 52 degrees.
Yeah,
and partly cloudy.
Like maybe 46 right now.
Oh gosh, okay.
Water weather, I love it.
Oh yeah. Also, look, I like a good crisp fall weather. I mean, it's fun, but not too cold though. I mean, that could be a little bit interesting here. So, before we do our picks, Christy, because I'm glad we got you on early because we want to get you some of these topics. So, starting with the Bears and Vikings. What's sort of like without giving away who you're picking? What's your synopsis of this game?
I mean, the Vikings, they have the right coach, the right general manager, the right running back, pretty solid offensive line too. Defense isn't so bad. They just don't have a quarterback. Kirk Cousins still doesn't know who he's throwing to, which way is up, which way is down, whatever. And the same thing could be said for Justin Fields. He's still trying to find his footing and adjustments. And you would think, coming into the 5th week now, and even again, what I mentioned the last time I was on here, if you're putting in all this work in the off season, well, where is it? Where's the improvement? So it's frustrating to watch both of these teams. I know a lot of Vikings fans are out here. They're frustrated and we're frustrated. So all in all, this is just going to be a frustrating game for both teams from my synopsis of it.
Well, I'd rather be a Vikings fan. Being 3-1 is frustrated. I'll take it, even though the Bears are at 500. We all know that. Like I said, even though the Bears are 2-2, we know they're not playing like a 2-2 team right now. They're not. I want to get your thoughts, Christine, about the Bears defense. I know they've been struggling with injuries for the last couple of weeks, but talk to me about what do you expect from them this Sunday. As we talked about Lakeena before Christine hopped on with us. The Bears have 2 sacks in the last 2 games. That's 1 per game, and that's not going to cut it against Kirk Cousins and crew. Even though the Bears defense do get a break because Kirk Cousins usually runs the other way instead of forward. But if you don't put pressure on him, it's going to be a long day.
I think that's true. You got to put pressure on the quarterback right away, and you got to find those pockets that are open on the line. As far as their defense, I think we've been spoiled the last couple of years with having a strong defense. We had Khalil Mack, we had Akeem Hicks when he was healthy, and a whole bunch of other veterans that have moved on since last season. So it's an adjustment. I think from what I've noticed, it's not only injuries. I think you got some smaller guys out there because from what I see anyway, Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks were both pretty big dudes, right? Like they were giant. All football players are giant compared to me, but from a defensive perspective, and I think they got to beef it up a little bit. I think we do need to put in those bigger guys, even if they're second stringers, or even if you just drafted them. Because look, Eberflus is a defensive guy. So the fact that defense is underperforming when this is what he's known for, that doesn't look good for him. Not necessarily the guys out on the field, because they're only performing the way that he's coaching them, if that makes sense. So it says a lot about Eberflus and what his focus is, which really, we don't know what his focus is because everything's kind of all over the board.
That is very true. Now, let's get off with Vikings Bears for a second because I'm starting to get a little. I don't think this is gonna be a very pretty game, but we'll talk about that a little bit. Did you guys see the ever classic game between the Colts and the Broncos last night?
I heard about it. I went to bed, but I heard about it.
Oh, you missed a barn burner, Chris.
I heard it was like going back into the 50s or something.
Yeah, that's Lakeena style football, as I call it. Pre-1980s, pre-1970s football.
Even Al Michaels during the broadcast, I heard he couldn't even keep it in. He's like, I don't know what's going on.
Well, yeah, he said that this would be like the 5th game on CBS. I'm like, wait a minute now. Our buddy Spiro Diaz calls one of those games. He's actually, he and JP actually called some pretty good games this year. So don't insult the intelligence here. But I'm sure he was probably over it. But remember, Al, you got Commanders and Vikings next Thursday night. So you might be saying the same thing.
The Bears.
Yeah, well, yeah, I thought it would be, but that was intentional because that would have been a better game than, of course, Commanders and the Bears coming up next Thursday. So you're gonna be having he's gonna be doing the same thing about the Commanders and the Bears too. So I don't know what to tell him.
Broadcast the game with some blinders on because Carson Wentz has been terrible, and Justin Fields, I think he'll get better, but as of right now, it doesn't look good for either one of them.
When isn't Carson Wentz terrible? I'm trying to figure that out.
Well, the year they won the Super Bowl when he got hurt.
Well, but I was going to say, wait a minute, NDSU, that was it. That was the only other time.
Yeah, the Colts became just second team in the Super Bowl era to win a game in which no touchdowns were scored. There were multiple interceptions were thrown, sacked at least 6 times combined. They joined the 1973 Browns, who beat the Giants in Week 13 of that season, 12-10. So, Commanders and Bears, they might equal that, but we'll have to wait till next week. But it's just sorry about that, folks. Just brutal. Now let's talk about some of the other non-football stuff. Of course, I guess we had to talk about the video leaked earlier, but of course, Draymond Green and Jordan Poole, from the Warriors, got into it. Of course, earlier this week, the video got leaked. Someone an intern did that. Someone's gonna get a pink slip and a link card. Because that's an internal video. So someone got a nice little check from TMZ, and that person's gonna get fired. I know people are already freaking out. Oh, how could he do that? Well, remember, folks, Kobe was body slammed by Shaq in one of their practices years ago. And if you guys remember The Last Dance, MJ famously clocked Steve Kerr into next week, among other things. So this has been happening in practices for years. It's just that now there are videos, of course. In this case, people are upset because it got leaked. In this case, Christine, I'll start with you. What do you think about this whole situation?
I honestly did not see the video. Like, I saw something about it this morning, but I had no idea what was going on. I'm like, oh, Draymond Green slapped someone. Okay. Like, what else is new in sports? But I mean, look, when you're in practice, that's your job, like you want to do whatever you can to secure that job and to fight for your job pretty much. So whether it was something personally or professionally between those two, it happens. They're guys, tensions are going to flare up, especially when you are always physically active and moving around like that. So whatever it is, exactly, whoever leaked it, they're not going to have their job by the end of the day.
I saw the video this morning, Lakeena. It did not look good for Draymond Green, but like you said, some stuff needs to be kept in house. Like you said, everything is being recorded now. That's the times that we live in. But like you said, is this the first that we've seen? Probably the first that we've seen in this, like you said, since everything's been recorded. But is this the first time this ever happened? No. Will this be the last time? No. But like I said, some stuff needs to be kept in house, and maybe it was something that we don't know about. We probably will never know the whole story behind that, but it just didn't look good for Draymond Green. Yes, he apologized for it, and the Warriors, as far as we know, that they're not going to punish Draymond Green. So that's the case. We also just move on from it. It did look bad for Draymond Green because the video was recorded, but like I said, stuff like this unfortunately happens all the time. Do we like it? No, but like Christine says, is it a part of sports? Yes.
Maybe it's a Michigan State thing. I don't know, a little bit of Michigan State. Maybe Poole told Draymond, hey, we're going to kick Michigan State's butt in a couple of weeks. I don't know what.
Right. And we don't know the context of it either. Exactly. Like, we don't know what was going on. So we just see what we see in front of us.
Exactly. Let's see here. Let's get it out the way, folks. The White Sox and the Cubs have ended their seasons. Look, I did an informal poll on Twitter, and more people think that, again, there's only like 12 people who voted on this, so take it for as you. This is very scientific here, folks. But more folks are more optimistic about the Cubs future than the White Sox now, with Tony La Russa, now being gone. Where do you think they go from here? Sid, I'll start with you.
As I said before, Dallas Keuchel and Tony La Russa cannot be the only two names that has to pay for what happened this season. I know GM Rick Hahn is keeping his job, Kenny Williams as well. So most of the people in that front office is going to keep their jobs. There's some dissension between that front office. But the White Sox got to make a couple of trades, and they got to really take a good hard look at themselves and what this team is going to be next year. First, they got to get a manager. And I want to ask Christine this in a couple of minutes, but they need a Mike Keenan type style manager who's going to get into that grill, hold them accountable for all times. I don't care if you're Tim Anderson or the minor leaguer who just brought up yesterday due to injury or what have you. Everybody needs to be held accountable for their actions. The whole attitude needs to change, and that those players need to realize that you're there for one common goal, and that's to win. You cannot take players off. You cannot take days off like this team did this year. Wherever the offensive philosophy was, they need to be thrown out the window and burned in the garbage can today. So the White Sox, just as an organization, has to take a good hard look at themselves, and I think everything else will fall into place as soon as they choose the right manager. For me, does it need to be a big name? No. It'll be great, but it doesn't have to be a big name. It's just someone that the players will respect at all times. Now, as far as Ozzie Guillen, as a fan, will it be great? Yes, because he'll be entertaining. Yes, he knows baseball, but unless he says it right now, or the White Sox management comes out and says right now he's not a candidate, his name, whether people like it or not, is still in play. Do I think he's the answer? No, but that the Ozzie Guillen angle has to be nipped in the bud right now, whether it's Ozzie himself or the White Sox organization at this point, whether he's a candidate or not. If he's not a candidate, the White Sox organization needs to come out today and say Ozzie is not in our plans for the future. As far as management is concerned.
What do you think, Christine?
Yeah, I would like to coach anyone under the age of 70, please and thank you. That would be my first requirement.
But Ozzie's not that old, so.
Well, right. So, secondly, I don't hate the idea of Ozzie coming back. And he's been pretty vocal, especially, during the pregame and postgame stuff, what he does on NBC with Chuck. I don't hate the idea of him coming back to the clubhouse. If anybody can relate to what the guys are going through, it's Ozzie. He's been manager long enough. He's played long enough. And he knows how to relate to those guys. I saw AJ Brzezinski's name being thrown around, that maybe they'll put him in as a candidate. And again, I don't hate that idea either, because AJ, he's a very vocal player. He was a vocal player, not afraid to speak his mind and to tell the guys how it is and to get them in shape. Another name that I heard being thrown out was Joe Madden. And it wouldn't be the first time that a Cubs coach went over to the South Side like that. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't totally hate that idea either, because he's familiar with the atmosphere of the city, and he probably knows a lot of the players too. So I also don't think that's a bad idea.
Let's hope that it's going to be Rick Hahn's guy, and maybe Jerry Reiser doesn't come in and say, "Hey, I want you to hire this guy," or whoever. Right. And I think I'm sure Kenny Wills will have his 2 cents in as well. I just think that for me, this is going to be very interesting how this is going to be approached. Like the names you mentioned are going to be thrown around and such. So it's going to be very interesting, like I said, to see what direction Rick Hahn decides to go. Does he go a little bit younger? Does he go like somebody who has experience? Somebody
I think you got to go younger at this point.
I think anybody under 70
higher than La Russa.
I'll say that'd be pretty bad. Well, although Jack McKeon, what's he doing these days? I know he's up.
Yeah.
He's happy.
Oh no!
Oh Lord, no. But so it's gonna be interesting to see in this. But it's good. Like I said, it's gonna be very interesting, and we'll be hearing all types of names and such. So.
Yeah,
going to be very intriguing.
Yeah, just a couple of names to keep in mind. Willie Harris, I know he's from the 2005 World Series team, but he's the current third base coach of the Chicago Cubs. The news came out this week. He was interviewed for the job 2 years ago before they went with the La Russa, so keep his name in mind. And Joey Cora, he was a member of the old 93 White Sox team, the old AL West team in 93, but he's the current third base coach of the New York Mets, and he can relate to today's players. Obviously, him and Ozzie know each other very well, so keep those two names in mind: Joey Cora and Willie Harris. Now, Christine, back to you with Joe Madden. We all know that he likes to do things his way, and the Cubs didn't like that. Even though you got a World Series out of him, I know things didn't go well after 2017 when they lost to the Dodgers in the NLCS. But it's all about analytics and how much do you use that force to manage, and Joe Madden doesn't like that too much. So I don't know if he's going to be a fit for the White Sox. Well, I love to have him, yes, but I don't know that if the White Sox are thinking in his direction.
That's gonna be interesting. As far as for the Cubs, I'll be interested to see if what direction they go. Does Jed Hoyer decide that maybe he wants to probably try and go for it, or maybe wait a couple more years to see what he has with guys like Nico Horner and Chris Morrell and all those guys, and I'm sure Ian Happ and Wilson Contreras will be going bye. So real quick, I know we're up against it, but where you guys think the Cubs' future is?
Still not winning a World Series for another 100 years.
No,
shot. I think for the Cubs, Lakeena, I think they'll put out a competitive team next year. Who are those names? We don't know, but I think you need a couple of starting pitchers, and you definitely need a corner outfielder, and you perhaps Carlos Correa, if you can weasel him away from the Minnesota Twins. They'll definitely be a start because they have money, Lakeena.
Yes, they do.
They have money. I know that they haven't. And I saw a tweet this morning. Even though the Cubs fans, some of them did show up this year, some of them did not. They still ranked number 9 in attendance overall in Major League Baseball this year. Yeah, go figure that out. Why the White Sox drew 2 million people and they were ranked number 19 overall. But with that being said, I think the Cubs should be aggressive in free agency. They're not going to get Aaron Judge, so we can put that pipe dream out the window. But I think players like Carlos Correa, a veteran starting pitcher or two, and get somebody in that bullpen, I think the Cubs will be more competitive next year. Because you cannot run out the same lineup next year. Cubs fans won't stand for it.
No, not at all. And we got an update here from the wild card games. A 2-run home run by Jose Ramirez in that bottom half of that 6th inning when we last talked about this. Propelled the Guardians to beat the Rays. They hold on 2-1. Game 2 is tomorrow, but the Guardians are leading that best-of-3 wild card series 1-0.
Yeah, if you White Sox fans want to get angry, go ahead. I don't care.
With that said, we'll be right back with our Week 5 picks, and also to Bulls fans, we're going to calm you down. I'll explain that coming up next. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Sydney Brown, and our girl KXRB's Christine Manika. Our picks and much more coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
I love that music.
I love a little 70s beat.
Wow. Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday edition. Real live and living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. It's Christine, the Queen. Manika joined us from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. This is the last segment of the show, our last segment of the week. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can always go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. Now it's time for our Week 5 NFL picks. Lakeena, what's our results overall, and what was our results from last week?
Well, thanks to Atlanta. I was right up there with you, Sid. Thank you, Atlanta, for pulling off the upset for me.
I told you the Falcons. Woohoo!
Well, you're still ahead, Sid, and
as always.
Well, Chrissy, you had a nice little bounce back too. So, we're still battling out for a second place. Like I said, it's still very early. We're at Week 5, so it's not. Yeah,
what's
it's
the margin?
Not a big deal. I think it's like 2 games. It's like 2 games, like 3 games with you. Like I think that's like a 2 game separate Christine and me. So
okay,
let's get time to look. It's plenty of time for us to catch up, Christine. So don't get discouraged.
Oh yeah.
All right. This should be a good one here in London. This is the second game of the London series. It's actually going to be the first time, I think, in London that they're going to have over 500 teams going to be facing each other. So this is going to be this is only going to be streamed on NFL Network, folks. So we watch this game on this lovely laptop here. This will be the Giants and the Packers. The Giants coming out shorthanded though. They're a little banged up. I know Tony's out. I know a couple other guys are out. I know Jones, I think, had limited practice. So Christine, I'll start with you on this game.
I'm going Green Bay. The injuries, outweigh the odds for the Giants, and it's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's going to do Aaron Rodgers things. We saw it last week when they barely got that win against the Patriots. So, I think Green Bay is just better man number-wise than the Giants are at the moment.
Yeah, the Packers are 7.5 point favorites in London. They'll be the last team they'll play in London. That never played in London. They'll play in London. I think it's going to be a surprisingly close game, but Green Bay is better at running the ball than the New York Football Giants are. I know Saquon Barkley's the whole offense right now for the Giants, but Green Bay's just an overall better team overall, so I'm going with the Packers.
Yeah, I think it might be a close one. I think because of Saquon Barkley, he'll keep the Giants in it. But I think the Packers. I think this is gonna be like Aaron Rodgers' breakout game. There is such a thing here, but I think the Packers with this one pulling away late. Steelers and the 3-1 Buffalo Bills. Now, of course, the Bills that great comeback. And good news for the Steelers, Mika Fitzpatrick and Cam Hayward were full participants today, so it looks like they're going to be good to go for Sunday. But I still say the Bills, like I said, they're on a mission, and I know Kenny Pickett will see how. I know, look, if you saw the Bills injury report, it was just posted. It's pretty long, but even still, I think the Bills shouldn't have too much trouble with the Steelers. I think Steelers will keep it close because I'm sure the Bills remember last year, that opener. The Steelers were surprised the Bills, so I'm sure they remember that. But I think Josh Allen and the rest of the Bills are going to do everything they can to make sure that doesn't happen again. So I'm going to pick the Bills.
I'm going to go with the Bills, too. I feel bad for my guy, Mitch. Poor Mitch. But, yeah, the Bills are going to take this one pretty not easily, but it will be a good game for them.
A surprise pick for you guys in the point spread, take Pittsburgh, but overall, take Buffalo. I was going to ask you, Lakeena, who's going to start for Pittsburgh, but I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah, probably not. Okay, well, yeah, could the Chargers continue their East Coast trip? They play Cleveland. Sid, you start this one.
The Chargers are going to the East Coast, I believe, for the first time this year, playing the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland, as you mentioned, Lakeena, lost a close one down in Atlanta last week. The Chargers are a 2-point favorite. The Chargers almost blew that game down there. Well, this will be the second time they travel to the East Coast.
Yeah.
Because they were in Houston last week, but they'll do it again for a second week in a row. I don't think it's going to go well for them. I got the Browns in a close upset. I don't know what the status is for Miles Garrett, who had the that one car accident. Thank goodness he's okay. I don't know if he's going to play this week, but I don't think it's going to matter because Cleveland has a better running game than the Chargers do. And the Chargers have to go back on the road on the East Coast for a second straight week. I think it's going to take its toll on them. So I'm going with the Browns in an upset.
Wow.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna pick the Chargers. I know they're a little bit banged up still. Like I said, Clowney looks like he was limited, so he might be able to play on Sunday. But I know Cleveland wants to get that taste, for the loss against Atlanta. But Chargers don't make me look stupid here. I might regret this pick. But I'm picking the Chargers.
I'm picking the Chargers too, Lakeena. I'm with you there.
Should be a good game, though. Next up, you got the Dolphins and the Jets. 3-1 Dolphins against the 2-2 Jets. Christine, I believe it's your turn to start.
Yeah, Miami's in trouble. The whole organization is in trouble for what happened to Tua. So whoever is to blame, we don't know if Tua's going to be out for weeks, months, maybe for the rest of the season until next year. Maybe he's not going to play at all after having 2 concussions like that back to back. With that being said, because there's so much uncertainty and there's clearly something internally going on with that, I'm picking the Jets.
Now I'm going with the New York Jets as well. They had a nice comeback at Pittsburgh last week. Zach Wilson in his first game of the year, that second-year quarterback, he showed some muscle, and he led his team back from that deficit. They have a nice running game with Breece Hall, and they got some nice wide receivers as well. I think Teddy Bridgewater will get the start for the Dolphins. The Dolphins are a 3.5-point favorite. I'm taking the Jets at home.
Yeah, making the sweep here. I'm taking the Jets because I think they're a little bit, sort of. I know we don't know how the team is going to respond to that whole thing with Tua. I know Teddy Bridgewater, is up. We know he's a great veteran, serviceable veteran. But at the same time, I think the Jets are kind of starting to. Was actually Zach Wilson back and starting to find their groove a little bit. So I think the Jets, although it will be a close one, though. I think in this game. Okay, the new game for Fox. Well, the third game, I should say, because they got the doubleheader this week. You got the Falcons and the Bucks, both at 2-2. Said you start this one.
The Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are favored by 10 points. Of course, the Falcons held on to their victory last week at home against Cleveland. Tampa Bay looked like crap against Kansas City last Sunday night. Besides the offensive line, I think the defense has a whole lot of issues if you're the Buccaneers. You would think they would get it together this week, right? You would think they'll get it together. The Falcons have been a surprise, one of the early surprise teams in the league this year. I don't think they're going anywhere, but if you're Tampa Bay, you're at home, you would think you get it together. Would you? I don't know if they're going to win by 10 points, but I'm picking them to win.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tampa here. And, whatever is going on with them, especially Tom Brady, obviously there's life outside of football. And those worlds can collide. And in this case, for what it seems like to be with Tom Brady, it looks to be that way. So it's not an easy season for him. He knew what he was getting into when he unretired. I just don't think he realized the risk of what he could be losing out of coming back. So whatever's going on, I hope that it works out for him and whatever's going on with the Bucks too. But yeah, I'm picking the Bucks this week.
Yeah, I picked Atlanta last week, but I'm not picking them this week. I feel like this is gonna be a good get-right game for the Bucks. It's gonna be an ugly one, I think. It won't be as ugly as Colts and Broncos yesterday. It won't be that ugly. It won't be that ugly, but it won't be that ugly, but it'll be pretty bad. But I think the Bucks will pull away late. And plus, I think Kyle Pitts, I think is going to be out. He was a bit of practice this week, so he's definitely the equalizer there. They might run the ball, but I'm talking about the Falcons. But yeah, it'll be like 10-9 or something like that. But at least it'll be entertaining, I guess.
Yeah, if Brady can slam down another iPad.
Right.
Or
exactly. The Windows tablets.
Exactly. So that should be an interesting one there. Our buddy Spiro Diaz and Jay Feely will be get a call in this game for CBS. You got the Texans and the Jags.
I'm picking the Jags.
They're very competitive at Philadelphia last week. Had an early 14-0 lead before they lost it, but I'm starting to like that young defense, and Trevor Lawrence, he has to play better. I'm going with Jacksonville. They're favored by 7 points at home.
Yeah, I take the points. I think the defense, I think James Robinson and such. I think he'll probably have a big game for Jacksonville, and the Texans are not very good. We saw that firsthand against the Bears, so I'm taking the Jags. All right, should be interesting one here. You got the Lions and the Patriots. It looks like Matt Jones got cleared for practice. Again, I might hate myself for this, but I think Detroit gets their second win this season. Yes, I know the Patriots defense is pretty decent, but they gotta the Lions gotta win these games. Can they?
But Lakeena, their defense stinks, and we saw that last week. They gave up 48 to Seattle. We all know Seattle's not that good. New England, I think only because they're at home, I'm picking New England. The New England is favored by 3.5.
Lakeena, I'm going with you, and I am picking. I lost my train of thought. Detroit. I'm picking Detroit. Yeah.
All right, it'll be an entertaining one at least on Fox. I mean, it might be entertaining. Who knows? Seahawks and the Saints. Remember, the Saints also opted not to do the extra week off either. So, they're playing. Coming back from London. I haven't seen any stats with Jameis Winston or Michael Thomas. But I think the Seahawks, I know they got to travel cross country. They're playing a new game. This isn't Pete Carroll's first rodeo. I know Pete Carroll feels kind of vindicated after what happened last night with Russell Wilson and Denver. But I think Geno Smith does enough to win this game. I know this should be an interesting game, but I'm picking the Seahawks.
I am picking the Saints just because we've seen Seattle this year. It's not anything impressive. It's probably the more or less impressive teams we've seen so far this year, but I still think it's going to be pretty close. But I just think fundamentally the Saints are more at that competitive level. So that's why I'm going to go with the Saints.
The Saints are 5.5 point favorites at home. Of course, Seattle beat Detroit last week on the road, putting up a 48 piece. The Saints put up some points, as you mentioned, Christine, in their loss at London last week against the Vikings. But I just don't trust the Saints right now as far as overall. And I think Seattle has a little mini streak going. So I'm going with the Seahawks in a mini upset.
Yeah, I think they stayed out east. I think that way they don't have to travel, back to Seattle. They have to come all the way back.
That's smart.
I think they did that already. Like I said, this is Pete Carroll's first rodeo. Now, last of the noon games, you got the Titans and the Commanders. The Bears' next opponent. Chrissy, you start this one.
Tennessee, that's my answer.
I'll take Tennessee too. Yeah, I think Derrick Henry. I know he's a little bit banged up, but I think he goes to town against the Commanders' defense, and they dominate the Titans. So it might be probably their most dominating game of the season so far for the Titans. So I'm picking them.
Yeah, let's make it a clean sweep. Watch Carson Wentz will finally wake up.
Yeah, which could probably happen. You never know.
Yeah. Oh, wait till he comes here on next Thursday.
That's probably will have his breakout game. Yeah, he'll probably throw for like 4 TDs or something against the Bears. Go figure.
And Tennessee's favored by 2 points.
Oh, really? Oh, so they're taking it. Oh, they're basically saying it's a pick. Okay.
So money's coming in late on Washington for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, that's probably why. Okay, first of the 3:00 games. San Francisco against the Carolina Panthers. I know they're in a short week. The 49ers are. I know they're going to be feeling on a high from that win against the Rams on Monday night. They're playing at 3:00, so it's not going to be that too big of a time difference from them. The Panthers are very good. I'm picking San Francisco next.
I'm picking San Francisco too. Jimmy G is he's still handsome, as Coach would say. Still handsome.
I can't believe he said that. Oh my, he said that.
Hey, I can relate. I get lost in those eyes and the hair too. Yeah, I tell you.
Yeah, those.
Sorry, back to hardcore information. Oh, hardcore information.
Yeah, sorry, Sid.
No pun intended. The San Francisco 49ers defense are on my fantasy team this year. What a hell of a job they did on Matthew Stafford last Monday. I told you San Francisco was going to win, and you saw why. This could be a trap game for San Francisco. They're favored by 6.5 on the road. I don't think it's going to be a trap game. San Francisco is going to take it home. I'm going with the 49ers.
Could be an interesting one too. Could be a good one here. I don't know if here in Chicago we probably won't get this game, but I'll be watching this game via my laptop here. The 4-0 Eagles against the 2-2 Cardinals. Okay, I picked against the Cardinals again last week, and sure enough, of course they get me. So okay, Jalen. I guess Jalen Hurts will have another one of his good games. He and AJ Brown have a nice rapport. That defense is still pretty solid. And I think Devontae Smith is pretty good as well. I'll pick Philly, but again, I might don't take it at face value because I'm kind of a little hesitant on this one.
That's right. Pick Philly because I'm picking Philly too. 5-0. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm going with Philadelphia as well. They are 5-point favorites on the road. Unfortunately, we will not be getting that game in its entirety here in Chicago unless you have NFL Red Zone or NFL Plus, or you'll be watching this on this very computer screen. So I'm going with Philadelphia.
Yeah, I will be watching that game and watch Kyler Murray has his best game this season. Throws for 3 touchdowns or something. Rushes for 2, or someone has a pick 6 on the air, which could happen. I got him on the fantasy team. This is a game Chicago fans will be getting on Fox. That second part of that doubleheader. You got the Cowboys
following the Bears game.
Yeah, so the Cowboys and the Rams. Sid, you start this one for us, please.
Oh, the Rams are 5.5-point favorites. Me personally, I think that's too high. I would take Dallas in the money line. But back to reality, the Rams got punched in the mouth, as I told you last week, that what happened against San Francisco, which took place on the road. Dallas, it was a nice win last week, but against the bad Washington Commanders team. I know there was rumors that Dak could be back. You sit him out another couple of weeks. This is really a toss-up game, to be honest with you. But I think because they're the home team, I'm going with the Rams. But if you're smart, you're a much smarter guy betting like I am, more smarter than me, I'm taking Dallas in the money line.
What I've been doing, I've been scribbling back and forth. Who do I want? Do I want Dallas? Do I want the Rams? Dallas, the Rams, their team is great, but Stafford got his butt handed to him like he normally did back in the Detroit days. So I think I'm picking Dallas. I think I'm going to pick Dallas. I got faith in Cooper Rush if he's back in there this week.
They're a little banged up, Dallas is. Oh, gosh. I don't know.
Their Rams offensive line is trash.
Yeah, they are. They're not very good. I could definitely see Diggs maybe getting an interception, from Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
I would say would depend on the run game.
It's very possible. Very possible.
Well, yeah, and I would say give the ball to Cam Akers.
Yeah. See, I don't know if Sid's helping right now, if he's just trying to get a game over us, Lakeena. That's
right.
The thing.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, well, look.
Here comes the hate.
Well, look, this is a coin flip game for me.
Yeah.
And,
but the Rams are favored by too much. I'm serious on that. They're favored by 5.5. That's too much.
Oh, well, that's too. Yeah, that is too much. I would say take the under, but I'm picking the Rams. I just don't. Yeah, I'm still Cooper Rush. I know Aaron Donald's gonna be trying to go after him, so I'm a little afraid for he's not gonna be in a good mindset either. So especially after that game that happened, he basically got tossed around against that 49ers O-line on Monday, so he might be on a mission. So I would say Cooper Rush, run, get the ball to Zeke,
run, little man.
Run, little man, Zeke here. A good one here on NBC for AFC North. You got the Bengals and the Ravens. Christine, start this one for us, please.
Gosh, again, two great teams. I think Baltimore got robbed a little bit last week for sure. But then again, the Bengals haven't been really stepping up to the plate either this season. So I think, this is another one I was scratching out too, back and forth. I think because it's a home game for them, I'm picking Baltimore.
I'm going with Baltimore as well. Christine, of course, Joe Burrow, he's my fantasy quarterback, so I needed him to have a big game. I think he can because that Baltimore defense is crap right now. You saw what happened last week when Buffalo came back and beat them. You saw what the Dolphins did a couple weeks before that against this Ravens defense. So I think it's going to be a surprisingly high-scoring game. The Baltimore Ravens are favored by 3.5. So I think that's about right. And so I think Cincinnati will kind of keep it close, but I think the Ravens will pull it out at the end.
Yeah, that's how I feel about this game. I think the Ravens will do just enough to win this. I think they want to I think the defense is going to have a lot to prove. So if I were Joe Burrow, and that O-line for the Bengals is still a little bit suspect for me. So I would, if you're the Ravens defense, this might be a good way for you to kind of get right. It's kind of, get your groove going here. Because that O-line from the Bengals is sort of another miss. So I think this will probably be helpful propel. Of course, Lamar's going to do his thing. Lamar Jackson, I should say, is going to do his thing. I think, J.K. Dobbins, I think this will be kind of like a run game for him. So it might be his best game of the year so far. So I think the Ravens will pull this out just because I think that I think they're on a mission. I think they want to kind of their backs are against the wall. And I think they feel this could be for the control of the division because, no one's going away from that division right now in the AFC North. So we'll see what happens here. Now, the AFC West on Monday nights, you got the Las Vegas Raiders and Kansas City. Look, I know Kansas City. I know folks are, Chiefs fans are already they're just being annoying at this point. Sorry, Mark Reynolds. I know you're going to be watching this. We're for FS1, but I know he's a big, he's a KC guy, the Chiefs fan. But I might hate myself for this. I'm going for punishment, but I'm picking the Raiders just because I'm rolling my eyes at the Chiefs.
I'm picking the Chiefs. They looked great on Sunday. I mean, whether it was because the Bucs have issues going on or not, they looked great. So I'm picking the Kansas City for this one.
The Chiefs are favored by 7 points. I know the Raiders had their first win last week against the Broncos. Did you see Bowles number 72? That offensive lineman that tried to tackle that. I forgot who ran the ball back for the Raiders. Yeah. He missed the ball like a mile. Let me just fall down and act like I'm chasing him.
Fall down.
Yeah,
just fall down. Oops, I tripped.
Yeah.
Classic. Any athlete wants to be an actor. Classic.
And of course, you mentioned, Christine, about what the Chiefs did last week. Of course, those idiots on First Take on ESPN. Oh, they didn't need Tyreek Hill. The Kansas City Chiefs are back. Me and Lakeena told you in August, the Chiefs are going to have those moments where you don't think that Tyreek Hill is not going to be missed.
Right.
I think this is going to be a game that he's going to be missed. I think Kansas City wins the ball game, but I'm with Lakeena as far as the money line is concerned. I know Lakeena picked Las Vegas an outright upset, but take a look to see if you can get Vegas in the money line, because I think it's going to be closer to what people think.
Mm-hmm.
I really do.
Yeah, it's going to be super close. Just an update for the Seahawks Saints game. Andy Dalton will get the start again for the Saints. So so could make it interesting there. Last but not least, Bears and Vikings, early season matchup for these guys. Of course, Chicago's very own Adam and me, who also does Bulls TV. We'll be doing the game along with Mark St. Clair and Christina Pink on the sidelines. Look, I know that they're coming back from London. I'm talking about the Vikings. It's gonna be very interesting to see how their body clocks respond. But I don't trust the Bears. I don't trust their offense. I know the defense will do just enough to kind of keep them in it. We've seen this, movie before. But I think the Vikings will pull away from this game late. I think Dalvin Cook has a big game. I think Justin Jefferson will have a couple of touchdown catches. Remember, Adam Thielen is also going to be a factor as well. Remember, he's still there, folks. So I think the Vikings it won't be a blowout, but I think the Vikings will win this game, pulling away in the second half.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I'm going with the Vikings.
Yeah, Vikings. Look, the Bears they're awful. They're awful to watch right now. And yeah, their record says 2-2, but like we said at the beginning here, we are not a 2-2 team. And I'm still not Fields. I'm still not 100% sold on him yet. I think he's getting better. I saw a lot of great throws that he had at the game last week, and I'm like, gee, where was this? Couple weeks ago, or anything along those lines. So he's definitely improving, but I need to see a little bit more consistency. I think this is the week for me that if I see those throws that I saw last week, that will prove to me that he has something, that maybe this is the future for the Bears right here. And if it's too inconsistent. I don't know. Maybe the Bears need to come up with a plan B after that. But yeah, the Vikings. I think if the Bears are at least in range of winning, that'll be a win for me. But I'm picking the Vikings.
It was nice to see
All
Darnell
right, and
Mooney
those
get on this. Yeah, I was just saying real quick to rebut off of Christine. It was nice to see Darnell Mooney on the stat sheet, 4 catches for 94 yards. So
Right.
that's an improvement. But I want to see Cole commit the Bears tight end get more than 2 catches for 16 yards.
I
That's all I'm saying.
definitely need to see more players getting catches. You can't rely on one guy all the time.
Yeah, looking at the injury report, David Montgomery is now questionable. Jalen Johnson is doubtful. So, Justin Jefferson might have a big day this week, and also Dalvin Cook might have a big game too. And now if Montgomery
We're just
can
lucky that we
play,
have good running backs. That's the only problem that the Bears don't seem to have. Knock on wood, is that we got good running backs.
right? That's true. We'll see if Montgomery will be able to play, and then maybe keep it close at the very least. So we'll see what happens there. Those are your picks for week 5 in the NFL. Now, this is XA Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Sydney Brown, and Christine Manika, our girl from KXRB, joining us as well. The Bulls are back at it tonight. They'll be playing their second preseason game against the Denver Nuggets. Folks were already freaking out after that loss to the Pelicans. Oh, well, Zach Lowe, I guess people are, he's saying that, Bulls, I should say, are not going to make the playoffs. They're not even an 8 seed and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Good old Bulls Twitter. Like, oh, good Lord. Like, after one game, it took one game for everybody to kind of freak out. But after one preseason game, but yeah, look.
Calm down, everyone.
Let's take a chill pill here, folks. Okay, I mean, I think, look, they're starting to get their groove in, and look, a lot of these guys are just coming back from injuries themselves. Of course, Alex Caruso is starting to kind of get back into a groove. We'll see how AO does, and P will. Like we said, they're bulked up. So I think people need to kind of just chill. And remember, Goran Dragic played just finished playing a Euro League tournament, not just a couple of weeks ago. So of course he is going to be a little bit tired, but I think people need to just kind of just chill on it, please.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and also too, Lakeena, when the Bulls were starting to make their comeback, which one of the players we highlighted said I wanted to see? Dalen Terry.
He helped
the Bulls in that comeback, even though they fell short against New Orleans. Dalen Terry, I really like this kid. If he can get it together, especially on the defensive end, that's really going to help out the Bulls. Now, the Bulls, up until that point, they really struggled defensively. They struggled offensively as well, but somehow, some way, they were able to stay in the game. Now, on the flip side for the Pelicans, it was nice to see Zion Williamson back. He really looks good. He looks like he's in better shape. And if that's the case this season, I think New Orleans can make some noise and avoid the play-in tournament. That's going to be a competitive Western Conference. Like I said, we'll get more into it as the season comes, once we get closer to the regular season opener. But New Orleans did look good. Like I said, the Bulls, they struggled as a team defensively, but this is the preseason now. If it continues tonight and in the next couple of games, then we're going to have to reassert some things. But right now, I'm not going to jump off the bridge. No.
Yeah, I mean the Nets lost by 29 to the Heat last night. So I think I don't see a lot of Nets fans already freaking out over that. So I think people need to just chill. But it is what it is. But any more thoughts before we wrap up here? I know, Chris. I know you were pretty busy over the last weekend, and that's why you weren't with us last Friday.
Yeah, it was the Cure Kids Cancer Radiothon. It was for our kids at the Sanford Children's Hospital here that are battling cancer, and we raised over $300,000 in 2 days. So
yay!
All right,
and it all stays local too, so it's great.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, that's really cool. Now, do you have any picks for? Because what are your picks for the MLB Wild Card round?
Oh gosh, gosh, I've been this whole week. I haven't even paid attention to the wild card game. I've just been fixating on everything else going on with football and the last couple games of the White Sox this season. So if you want me to think who's going to win the World Series, I think the Yankees have a chance.
So you're going with the
Yeah, I
Yankees
mean-
win the whole thing?
I would think so. Yeah. Even
Who are they going to beat in the National League?
You know, I think Cardinals and it could be the Cardinals or the Yankees. I think.
Okay, Yankees Cardinals. That should be a fun World Series.
Yeah.
Two historic teams, battling it out. I'm sure Fox is gonna be cheering really hard for a Dodgers Yankees World Series. I feel
Of course.
they're sure they're gonna be cheering. Well, yeah. Oh no, you know they're gonna be cheering for the execs at Fox are gonna be cheering for that. So
Yeah.
get the big ratings.
Yeah, a couple of the questions for Christine before we close up shop. College football tomorrow, Christine. Notre Dame versus BYU in Las Vegas. And I see you wearing that Lion Knights sweatshirt. They're going to host a primetime game against Iowa tomorrow. What are your thoughts about those two games?
Go Notre Dame. I love Notre Dame. This is for my sister because, she's studying to be a veterinarian. She's in her 4th year. So Illinois, they're just not a good football team. I don't even unless they do something crazy, like they beat Wisconsin apparently a couple weeks ago. I'm like, oh, they beat Wisconsin again. Okay, well, at least they're getting that kind of figured out now, how to beat Wisconsin 101. But I think Notre Dame is going to have a turnaround at this point. I mean, being in Vegas, come on, it doesn't get much better than that. I'm sure they're having responsible fun is what I like to put.
Are we sure about that?
Yeah. And then it should be a great game. They're going to be at Allegiant Stadium. So it should be a good experience for both teams, really, especially for first year head coach, Marcus Freeman.
Should be a fun game. It's gonna be on prime time, like we said earlier, on NBC and on streaming on the Peacock app. So make sure you guys check that out. Now, with that said, you can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Christine, regular lovely people follow you.
They can follow me at Manika_KXRB on Twitter.
All right, nice. And I know Sean said earlier that he won't be on Monday, but we will be on Monday. We'll recap Bears and Vikings, and also to all the rest of the slate and our studs and duds, and the MLB. The divisional series will be all set by the time we commence back here on Monday. So a lot to talk about still, but I know it's gonna be a little cool this weekend in some parts of the country. So enjoy the crisp fall weather. Wash your hands. Get vaccinated. And just be good to each other. It's been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago for Sydney Brown and KXRB's Christine Manika. I'm Lakeena McGee, and we'll see you guys next week.
Happy birthday to me. Yeah. Till then, holla.